Oh, sir.
Hey, Dr. Dobson.
Oh,
Grab a chair. Mm-hmm.
well, we can add another table on the end. Okay.
All right, it is 6:30. As acting chair of the PCOB, I will call this meeting to order. And the roll call, Mr. Dillard. Here. Mr. Fry. Present. Dr. Dobson. Here. And I'm likewise present. We cannot put in the agenda because we don't have a quorum. We have an agenda which we will proceed with. We cannot put in the minutes from May because we also don't have a quorum. Announcements. Those of you who know that we have had 4 resignations for various reasons, and the lack of quorum, I have, as Ms. Gonzalez communicated a sense of urgency to City Council that we need. And I see you had a response from Mr. Payne, Councilman Payne, to not only post the need for members, but to extend it and make that more known to the public. It was actually on the 6 o'clock news tonight. A nice little blurb about the need for members and a link to our application on their website. But we will proceed until we have the members as a non-voting quorumless organization. Do you have announcements, Ms. Gonzalez?
No, so that was actually it. It was the issue that, in fact, we did get notified by the clerk of council's office yesterday about the announcement for the various boards, which included ours. We just want to make sure that people note that the deadline for application for this board specifically is right now set at July 18th.
And is that the extended deadline?
No, I know that Councilor Payne communicated to you and I that they can ask for an extension if they, for whatever reason, don't receive a sufficient number of applicants, that they'll be willing to, or I guess they would be willing to consider extending that. But for now, at least we have something out there posted.
And the provision of council to open it to non-residents is still in force.
Yes, sir.
Any other announcements? Okay. Any board member activity or feedback?
As far as the only thing that's pending, and it was pending from prior to former Chair Pola's resignation, was that Dr. Dobson had prepared some recommendations as it pertains specifically to flock. Unfortunately, there was never the opportunity to vote on that. So that would be one of the items that we should make a priority just as soon as you have a quorum, would be to forward those recommendations to the chief, or to ask for counsel or reach out to possibly the city manager's office to see if those recommendations can be forwarded to the chief absent you all formally voting on them. So that's a possibility, because it would be a shame for that work that he did to go to waste. The only other pending item that we had prior to Chair Pola resigning was that I had asked Dr. Dobson if he would do a presentation for us. It was based essentially on a question that was made by one of our community members, Kate Fraley, and it deals specifically with police officer encounters and that kind of thing. Dr. Dobson, could you just kind of refresh their memory as to what that was about?
Yeah, one of the comments from the previous meeting was about Peregrine, the adoption of Peregrine, which is one of the AI assistance tools that a lot of police departments use, and I think Charlottesville is in the process of getting comfortable with and finalizing contracts with, or some form of that. I need to understand better, but
that was reversed, actually.
Yeah, it's no longer. It's been D6.
Yeah, for now.
Oh, really interesting. Okay.
But still,
there's always going to be this, I think, anxiety when it comes to, AI assistance or any kind of technology assistance for police service. And it's a subject that I am not only doing research on, teaching about, thinking about, et cetera, that I also have a lot of ambivalence about it myself, but I think that there's a lot of information that can be helpful for folks who aren't really sure what that looks like. And what to kind of pay attention to that was some of what I was hoping to kind of speak on, was just giving folks who are interested a little bit of understanding from my perspective at least.
Was there not a peer-reviewed article also?
Yeah, I also, yeah, I published a peer-reviewed article on what I believe is the approach that people should take to reducing bias that could occur with the use of AI assisted tools. Again, I'm someone who believes in the goods and the bads of everything. So this is really a kind of it was a piece that was written to say, here's what we could do to address some of the challenges that might occur while trying to use these tools to the best of our ability. So that was essentially what I was going to be talking about. But I think that conversation could go just about anywhere, whether it's during a meeting like this or honestly even portion outside of this. So that's about the summary, I think, that I get.
And so, Dr. Fraser, what I would suggest under the existing circumstances, it doesn't really need a vote because this is a reality in law enforcement and something that we're eventually going to face, and it's already actively being utilized by a lot of departments in the city, AI specifically. The IACP has had discussions and written papers about it as well. So this could fall under training for the PCOB. Indeed. And so he is, of course, a subject matter expert, so it would fall under the compliance with the ordinance. He could do it that way. Obviously, it could be recorded and shared, not only with all of you, but with the community as well.
Yeah. I wonder if we could, even though we're still not, we don't vote on it, go ahead and look at getting that scheduled, not at this meeting, but at another time and place that works for folks. What we do with all.
And it could be, but we've done, as you all already know, we've done training as part of the meeting itself.
Yeah, we could also do that.
It would be up to Dr. Dobson to say how much time he needs, but if it falls within an hour or less, then it could certainly be incorporated into your monthly meetings.
So is that a possibility, Kyle, that we could do in August?
In August,
September?
Yeah, I'd say either August or September would work well. Yeah,
We'll
September
work around
would
your
give you-
schedule.
Yeah,
Through the semester and stuff.
yeah, that's.
So let's definitely get it planned. Couple of other announcements. I don't know if you saw the interview with the chief on the news this evening, but 2 points that jumped out at me. One, he said that CPD would not be cooperating with the feds on any immigration enforcement. It's not their job. They don't intend to, irrespective of what the governor's ordered. We sort of threw down on that. And then he also, and then the question was raised in light of the concern about enforcement and the possible role of flock in that, would he be willing to eliminate flock? He said if city council requires it, he does. It's kind of an offense.
Okay. That's a lot to process. And I understand the concerns, I really do.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share that.
Right, well, so we've done a considerable amount of work as it pertains to flock. There's a large portion of flock that's spoken about in our annual report. It certainly has its benefits. One of the concerns that was expressed, obviously, is whether or not we were going to be utilizing the system to engage in any type of searches of plates and vehicles, whatever, on behalf of immigration, which, as far as the CPD is concerned, they have not. He has shut down all access.
Yeah, thank you for reinforce that.
He did, and
We can confirm.
we can confirm. We check regularly. So when the matter was first brought up at a council meeting, I had reached out to Mr. Walker and asked him, can you do a search for the last 30 days to see if there's anything regarding the flock system that's being utilized by ICE or on behalf of ICE or anything like that. And we did find evidence that was the case, not on the part of the CPD ever, on the part of agencies that had access to flock systems throughout the state. And from outside of, well, no, never from outside of the country, but just within the state.
It's just within the state.
Within the state of Virginia. And so then when we immediately brought that to the chief's attention, he then asked Mr. Walker to do a search that dated back to the 1st of January, to which we saw additional searches, and he immediately shut it down. Yes, so it would be, again, I'm hesitant about giving an opinion one way or the other, but I will say that there are other benefits that we have seen from the use of the flock system as it pertains to crimes that occur in the city of Charlottesville. There were shooting incidents that were resolved a little bit quicker because of the flock system. An issue with a missing child was resolved as a result of the use of the flock system. So it is not without its benefits. And I hope that, whoever the decision makers are involved, that they consider the entirety of the situation before we shut it down completely.
I think the concerns have just ramped up given what's going on with immigration enforcement. So, any other thoughts about that, Kyle?
Yeah, I was gonna say that, I, especially after going through the policy a lot and having small quibbles here and there, and again, I hope that someone gets to see those. But I really liked our policy as it pertains to Charlottesville PD. I really, really liked it. And I didn't have many edits or that I felt were really significant. However, even with the best policy, this is the problem with any kind of tool that's private or outside. That company still technically can come up with their own deals with other individuals or people, as I'm sure some of y'all have seen happening in different cities across the country. And that was something that I wish that I had thought a lot more about, even though I don't think it really affects, again, what we're kind of advising as it relates to the Charlottesville Police Department. It's just something that makes it even more challenging to think about how do we use these tools, right? Whenever somebody can say, or in plot can say, I can now give this information to whoever I want, even though your policy within the city says you don't have to do that.
So I think that issue, and I apologize for interjecting, but I believe that issue has been resolved. If you look at the law that went into effect, I believe there's a piece in there that discusses what they can or cannot do with that information. And Flock, we met with Flock, and we've been meeting with Flock frequently, as a matter of fact, and they advised us they were in the process of tweaking it at the time to ensure that they were in full compliance with the state law by July 1st.
So a question, I guess, for both Ms. Gonzalez and Ms. Dobson, are you comfortable with the lockbox that's been put around it for Charlottesville?
I'm comfortable with it. I can say that I'm comfortable with it. But like anything else, I understand the concerns. They're legitimate concerns because, again, when you're talking about what the federal government is doing with respect to enforcement action, I'm not going to sit there and tell you that it's not impossible. But I can tell you that as far as locally what we're doing with it, and whether or not, again, I don't know what that would look like. They would have to bum rush to police headquarters and force them to access it. I mean, and they don't have to. And here's the thing people don't understand. As long as there's another agency within the state that they can access, the fact that one department doesn't allow it, they can access it from other jurisdictions. They just can't access our immediate information unless they come here specifically and go through our system specifically. But I'm comfortable with the steps that they've taken. I'm even more comfortable with the stringent requirements that were set forth in terms of the state law. So, I mean, it should allay some people's concerns a little bit. But, one of the things that we talked about recently when Mr. Walker and I were doing an interview with IMHO was that there's so many other ways to access our information, so much easier ways and so much more accurate ways to get a lot more from us. We have had data breaches. And again, I can count, like, in the last decade, how many letters I have received from various institutions, whether it's credit card companies, department stores, your healthcare providers, where their information, our information where they stored in their systems were breached. So our information is out there. Cell phone systems is an easier way to track us than even the Flock system. So I think, again, I understand where people's concerns are, and the more technology that is available, the more people are going to be concerned because it's all out there. But there's so many other ways for us, for law enforcement to get what they need that has nothing whatsoever to do with Flock.
And I propose that, Albemarle County was hacked last week. So their stuff is compromised. When I was at the Roseville Community Association meeting, the chief was, and people were complaining about Flock. He said, if you have one of these, he said, we know everything we need to know about you, where you are, where you go, who you talk to. He said, you're concerned about privacy, get rid of your smartphone. Put that on me.
Oh, yeah, because again, like, once you have PC, all you have to do is get a warrant for the, to have the provider provide everything that is you need. So, but I do understand, it's not like I'm gonna be dismissive of the concern, there is a legitimate concern. So,
It's an ongoing conversations. A couple other quick announcements. Meeting with Councilor Snook tomorrow to again discuss the problems with the ordinance in terms of how this functions or does not function when it's full capacity, or at least that's a quorum. So we'll be reporting back doing that. And he was receptive to me, and so we'll see what happens. And then I've got a request in just to meet with the chief, just to touch base as acting chair. And knowing just to sort of reconnect. Any other announcements, gentlemen?
Monday,
Monday.
Yeah, we're on to Monday.
right, so we have the meeting with the, at the request of the chair of the NAACP, we were asked to meet with them on Monday evening with their executive board.
That's awesome.
And Mr. Walker,
Yeah, I'm curious, I didn't know.
It's going to be right on High Street at the hospital, Old Martha Jefferson.
Since you're a medical building,
It's, I can't think of the name. What's the name of that thing?
it's called the.
I use GPS.
My wife work every day and I can't think of it.
We have the information in our,
Yeah, it's in,
Yeah,
we have it in our
we have it
calendar.
in our calendar, so we can share it if.
So yeah, that'd be great then 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, please come.
And we had it for 6:45 on Monday, correct? That's what we have it
Yeah,
listed as.
Caroline, I just got an email from Mr. Mendez. He said he can't log into the live stream. Is it streaming?
Did he register? He has to,
It's not because there's something going on with Boxcast and that
There's not much.
is out of my wheelhouse, so he should already be registered for the Zoom itself as a panelist, so
That's
if he can find that registration email, he can just click join webinar and he'll be good to go.
he can, I don't see why not. Could he?
Does he have the ability to just text a question if he has one?
I mean, it's not, I think it's up to them.
6.
I didn't know if it was way through the.
He's not in it, that's what.
Oh.
Them to, so it's to show up to speak, whatever that was.
6:45.
Yeah, but at 6 o'clock, so I mean.
We do have at least one person in there who gave us a heads up that they did want to speak, so.
Okay, when we get to that, we'll certainly ask. How'd you meet? So we now are at, matters by the public. You have somebody online, Carolyn?
I think we could
3 minutes.
see if she's there. I mean, I can keep track of time. Yeah, it's. Felicia's.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Kay.
Hi, Kate Fraley, Charlottesville. Two things, maybe it's on your website, but whatever Dr. Dobson's recommendations were, are they on the website? I haven't seen them about flocks. Are they, it sounds like you were gonna pass them along, and it'd be nice if the public could see them in that process too.
Do they have to be voted on?
So no, they were, again, remember, the board never voted on the recommendations. We never got that far. So again,
Now.
right,
So-
so,
But if you're gonna pass them along, then the public ought to be able to see them, right?
right, correct. But again, one of the things that I said is for Dr. Frazier to reach out to either the city manager or maybe the city attorney's office or the city council to figure out, is there a mechanism in place for us to forward those recommendations absent them officially voting on them?
Can you put them on the website, on your website, even if you haven't voted on them and even if they don't go forward?
As far as I know from previous questions that I've asked, the answer is no, but I can confirm that
That's,
because they're considered working documents.
Okay, the second thing is that in the past, if my recollection is correct, when there were vacancies from resignations from the board, those positions were to continue the time frame for that person's. So if somebody only had 6 months left to their term, then the person who was applying would, so the website, none of the websites that I could find say which of those positions, what the time frame is for any of those positions. So a person applying would not know whether they're applying something for whatever. Is it 3 years you usually are on, or 6 months?
Correct, is correct, that 3 years is the term. And if you come into a term that is, I think,
Right.
more than a year in or something like that, you are entitled to run for 2 additional terms. But
I guess my question,
I can reach out to the clerk of council's office to find out why they haven't posted the expiration dates of the existing terms.
they have the description of the term or the position, but they don't have the,
When it expires.
right.
Well, at least 3 of the 4 positions, or again, were very, very recent. They were only appointed in February.
Right,
So,
right. But one of them wasn't. I think.
right, one of them was 1 year into it, so they still had an additional 2 years left. Mr. Pola and Miss McBride were appointed in the same time last year. So they were a little over a year into their term. And then the more recent resignations, those were all individuals that were appointed in February of this year. So they were only 2 months.
2 months.
Yeah, 2 months into their term when they left.
It's not there, is all I'm saying.
Okay, again, we don't control that, Kate, so we will bring it to the attention of the clerk of council's office to see what, if anything, we can do about that.
In the, somewhere a long time ago, when somebody's appointed, it says their appointment date. But anyway, so when you announced their resignations, you would have known what their thing
That's on the
was.
website.
On whose website?
It's publicly available from where it lists the,
On the board.
where it lists the board, it has the term dates.
Right, but not the people who left.
I will let you use that.
I mean, if I had looked at it before they resigned, it would have been there, but they're not there now.
I see.
I see they take it off.
Yeah, okay, that's all.
Thanks, Kate. We'll follow up.
Yeah, we could also send Kate an email with what the expiration dates, the original expiration dates for their terms were if she needs that.
No, any person applying needs to know how long their term is going to be.
Oh, yeah, that'll be made, that will be brought to their attention during the process.
Right, but it would be good to know before you apply.
Okay,
what-
again, I will bring it to the clerk of council's attention. That's outside of our control.
Thank you.
Okay. What else, Caroline? You have board's monthly report to city council, is that the report to us? Or item 7?
What is that?
This board's monthly report to city.
That's your reports. Remember, we had the discussion previously. Again, if you guys haven't had any activity because last month's meeting was canceled, then you don't really have anything, but yeah.
You know.
Mhm.
But I wanted to give you and Mr. Walker a chance to bring us up to speed on the annual report and any other items that you have for us.
Sure, and one thing I was gonna say first is I know it's been a couple months now, but we talked about tracking time spent on the board. And I see there was 26 submissions in there. I know we've kind of like gone away from it since we haven't seen each other, but it's still active, still live. I have the data. And so if you need that link again of like where to go to track it, I think I sent an email in May, but I'm happy to send it again.
Probably
And
worth doing just.
yeah, we can download that into a kind of like a spreadsheet kind of thing. And if you want to change it to make it into something prettier, we can. But there was 26 submissions, so that's good.
Yeah.
And the whole purpose for that, just to remind, members of the public that might be watching why that was done, is because there was a concern about how much time you all devote to this process, to kind of give the city council an idea of exactly how much time is being spent and the categories they're being spent in. I will say this, and it's somewhat on topic. One of the questions that was raised during our town hall was the reason, was why you all were not compensated for serving on the board. And so Counselor Payne was good enough to advise us via email of the reason for that. And so there is actually Virginia code that discusses that. And because this board is not considered an advisory board, you don't fall into the category of the boards and commissions that they have the option of compensating some way. It's not a mandatory obligation for them to compensate you, but they have the option if you're considered an advisory board, which you all are not. One of the recommendations that I was going to make would have been to, I guess, urge you all or ask members of the community or special interest groups that have a concern as it pertains to that specific subject to maybe lobby. That would be maybe a good subject that you all can present to the state assembly for their next session, is whether or not police oversight agencies in the state of Virginia can be considered advisory boards and thus be compensated in some way. Can't hurt to ask, right?
So just to provide an update on that, on the annual report, we are literally everything is done on it. It's been read and read over dozens of times, edited, checked over and over again. The only thing that is left is like replacement of a couple visuals, about 5. I did about 9 today and I have 5 left. Just trying to fix a couple things that we noticed to make things as perfect as possible. We figured at this point, we might as well make sure it's as perfect as it can be.
It was just a formatting issue. The content was all there, it's just a formatting.
Formatting. To make it more visible, we wanted to change some sizing of some of the visuals, like the labels on charts and things like that. So I will likely have that finished in the morning, by the morning. Since I did 9 today, I definitely could do 5 in the morning. And we're going to get this thing posted on the website, as well as send to each of you by email. And I don't know if there's anything else we're doing with it right away, but we do have a presentation in front of City Council. I believe on the 21st it is. It's whenever their next meeting
21st.
in July is, yes.
We're just waiting for confirmation in terms of just the specific time that we're going to be asked to make that presentation and the duration of the presentation. It won't be very long. It's my understanding that it is part of the city manager's report. So it may be like 10, 15 minutes. But we can kind of like highlight some of the more important parts of the annual.
And council will each get a copy.
Yes.
Well,
Some
so,
point.
yeah, so when we produced our previous annual, we forwarded it to the then chair. He then forwarded it to the council. We can either forward it, if that is what you're asking us to do, or we can send it to you and you can forward it.
Yeah,
But if you authorize us to forward it, we can forward it.
This is a chair.
Just to show you really quickly, kind of how it's set up. There's title page. I'm zoomed in as much as I can without cutting too much off. But come on, go to the next page.
And it's, gosh, over 100 pages in comparison to last year. We were somewhere in the 70s. We're somewhere in the vicinity of 110-ish, 12-ish, somewhere thereabouts.
Yeah, 112 content pages. And the reason we ultimately made it as long as it is because we really wanted to dive into some of the areas that were just kind of briefly mentioned in the last time. So some of the larger sections include looking at the police department's budget and breaking out various elements of that and trends over time, as well as internal affairs cases. So for the budget, I think I go back 4 or 5 years of data. And then for the internal affairs complaints and allegations and the outcomes, that goes back 3 years. So the goal of this one was to provide a lot more detail and information. Sorry, I lost my voice a few days back and it's still coming back. But also to really source out everything very well. Every source in here is linked. And so anyone who accesses this report from the digital side can click on these links and go find what we're referring to. We're also building a digital appendix so that the items that we refer to, instead of extending this document even further, we just have the appendix items will be posted on the website, and then the document references those and you can go and see those items. And so just to give a quick overview, it's got like a letter from Mr. Mendez, who was the chair at the time. This is for 2024. table of contents, you can see a little bit about how it's broken down. There's 4 main sections. One that focuses on the board as a whole and the work of the board, the members of the board, summaries of board meetings and decisions that the board made. There's also a focus on the Office of the Executive Director. So that kind of mentions things like the fact that I was hired during 2024. Our internal budget is reviewed pretty in detail as well. Professional development, and also goes into detail about some of the systems that we use and have access to, like Flock. And then also there's a big section on the police department. That includes their budget as well as all the internal affairs case information. It is at a broad generic level. There's nothing in there that would identify individuals who are part of that as well as officers. Everything is just general, but deep enough where we could show trends and connections between correlations between data. And then lastly, the last section is about outreach and community events and engagement. So all the different things that board members as well as Inez and I have participated in, just shared there, referenced there, and includes a section on media coverage as well. So anytime that the board has been specifically addressed in 2024 in a local article, local news source is also listed there and sourced as well. So it's pretty comprehensive and hopefully it serves as a guide in the future for the board to dive in deeper to specific things. There's a lot in the complaint section and the budget section that really could be a source of more research and questions and things like that. We tried to focus on being factual, objective. We're not making value statements in here. When it comes to the data, we're just saying, here's what the data shows, and here could be a reason why, here could be another reason why, we don't know. This could be a topic for more research. And then finally, one of the other large portions that extends over each section, each section ends with a overcoming challenges portion. And that portion really lays out the challenges the board and the office have faced, not just in 2024, but extending before that, and really ways that we perceived they could be overcome, and solutions to them, recommendations and solutions to those challenges.
Right, so each section that talks about the overcoming challenges outlines what the challenge is. Then it makes very specific recommendations on how it is we can overcome those challenges, essentially to correct them.
And just to show like a couple little highlights really quick, there's a history of the board section. It is very brief, but it tries to capture kind of from start to finish the history of the board, how it sort of got off the ground and rolling, and kind of a timeline of events. Now, this is as far as we were able to collect from the sources that we have. There certainly are additional sources, especially from community members out there who we would like to talk to in the future and get more detail from. I think that's important.
So it was brought to our attention at the town hall, for example, that, what we thought was the catalyst for change here actually extended further back. And so, yeah. So we learn a great deal. The more we interact with the community, the more we learn about the history. And we were actually provided a few months ago with documentation from individuals that were actively participating in the creation of the ordinance from its inception, provided us with a ton of documents to show that what it is they actually wanted to happen, but unfortunately did not happen according to them. So they actually showed us what their initial intent was in the documents that they submitted and what they were hoping, how they were hoping the ordinance would actually read.
So we also have the member profiles, quick little bios and photos of everyone. So this is of 2024 through the end of December. And then just one other thing I just wanted to show really quick. Sorry, I'm kind of flipping through pages quickly. We have board attendance is listed there as well, just kind of and how people participated, whether it was remote or in person, as an example, whether we had public comment and how many public comments, which are actually also summarized in here as well.
We thought that was important. We thought so that the people would understand that we are in fact listening, and a lot of the recommendations that I've made and that Mr. Walker has made stem specifically from the comments from the public.
So this is an example of like some of the charts related to our internal budget, gives some information about our budget. This is probably the least in depth because our budget is not very large. The police's budget section is much larger and much more in depth. But you can even see here what was recommended for fiscal 26 in the next budget fiscal year. All the changes by line item that were recommended and the amounts. And so there's quite a bit of good detail in here, trends over time, how things have changed, just different line items and how they've changed over the years. So I'm going to skip one more time ahead. I apologize. I just wanted to get to. So this is like where the internal affairs cases are discussed. It actually lists every internal affairs case from the Department of Internal Affairs and the police department that they received. And some of these correlated with us, which I list separately when there was a correlation between a complaint that came in through the PCOB and then ended up through investigated through them as well. But this table lays them all out. It just gives the number, the dates, what the allegations were and what the outcomes, the findings were, unfounded, sustained.
No specific ties to any particular police officer. So there's no identifiers that could link any specific case that we're talking about to an officer or set of circumstances.
So that's all in there. And then it goes really into a deep dive of the data and the trends over 3 years. We had the data back to 2022, gives really just broad data and then a lot of trend charts and graphs with explanations. So these are what I was referring to when I have about 5 of these left to replace just to improve some of the visual itself.
And each one of those sections, he includes a section that talks about exactly how to read the graph, like, how to understand what it is you're looking at in very specific detail.
So there's a lot here, and that's why I won't go through it, but there's quite a bit of detail in these. And this is actually an example of one that I'm fixing just because I don't like the way it looks with the way it's cut off and making some edits there.
The borders, the lack of borders bothers him.
So, question for you.
Yep.
You put this into a format.
It'll be both digital and we're going to have it printed copies as well. So we're going to do both. Yes. And so, yeah, there's a lot in here. It extends pretty far. And then we go through all of our cases that we receive specifically. This is in this section right here. And we attach the internal affairs case number if it was handled by both. And there's some details, very generic details about actions that were taken by Ms. Gonzalez and myself in relation to each of these and what they were about. And then finally, it goes into the police department budget. That was kind of one of the last things I wanted to show you. I'm still fixing a couple things in here, so none of this is finalized, just wanted to show it. But it really breaks down some budget items and trends over time and looking at their budget and giving some specific details as well. And then lastly, I had mentioned sorry, I know, don't get we do have some memorials in here. This was someone that you had worked with quite often, I think, in the past. God rest her soul, an oversight professional with a great deal of experience, an attorney by trade, a wonderful woman who we lost last year. And then we also have Mr. Fleming in here as well. So prior board member, for those who don't know. And then community engagement events, we have all those listed, every event, when it was and kind of what it was. And we also have a source link to that event's information page if they have one. So those are all in here. And then like I mentioned, the media articles are in here too. So these are all the media publications that related directly to us. Sometimes we're mentioned in other stuff related to the police department. I skipped over those because there's a lot, but this is really just focused on ones that focused on us. Every source is there. And yeah, that kind of gives you that broad overview. So I just wanted to show you it's definitely going to be able to be published tomorrow, be sent directly to you in the digital form, and we'll work on getting printed copies made as well. We're going to try to get them bound, I think, so they're nice, high quality copies.
Our intent is not to print too many of them, obviously, but if you all have a request for a specific number, then let us know.
Yeah, that's impressive. Impressive was the word that I was thinking. I know that's a lot of effort and work that's gone into that. And I think the next challenge is going to just be how do you get people to be able to parse what is in that behemoth of a document. And not only just people in the community, but also board members, future board members, police, just about anyone who could really utilize all the work that y'all put into that, so.
I think part of our hope, and I appreciate that for sure. I think part of our hope was also that would help trigger or focus thoughts and questions and ideas of like, hey, let's spend a meeting just focused on this one topic and let's dive into this more and let's get some more detail and research prepared for that. And maybe that could generate some public interest.
Good.
So that was the thought, at least behind it, but.
Well, just to have the document available, I mean, to community members, to stakeholders, I mean, I think it's terrific, and I think it's just exactly what we need at this point when we're struggling to reconstitute the board. This council to get the word out.
And we struggled over not extending the challenges section too much because, again, we only included a brief overview of the most, I guess, commonly discussed issues as it pertains to our ordinance, but there have been many recommendations concerning why I feel anyway that the ordinance needs to change, and it isn't based on anything frivolous. It's not. It's essentially based on me attempting to implement some aspect of the ordinance, but met resistance. So I mean, as it pertains to whether or not we have subpoena power, in actuality, it required me to actually request a meeting with the Chief Justice in Charlottesville to have a sit down. We had to submit questions in advance, as well as a copy of the ordinance. And when we finally sat down with him, we probably walked away with more questions than answers, to be honest with you. So there was a lot of concern. So we met with the Commonwealth. Well, I met with the Commonwealth attorney very briefly to ask very specific questions pertaining to a section that's contained in our operating procedures on how it is we're supposed to address the possibility of a criminal complaint. His response differed immensely from what it is we have in our procedures. So what it tells me is that a lot of what was put into these documents, the individuals that were responsible for actually complying with that were never conferred with. Or maybe there were different parties that were in those positions at the time, but they don't align. So that is an area of concern. And the problem is still this. We still have two documents, which is the ordinance specifically that I'm addressing and the operating procedures, that require the creation of additional documents before we can do the work. And it's unnecessarily burdensome when there was a lot easier ways for us to address that. And the bulk of what we tried to do, and we tried to highlight that in our 2024 annual, was to show that, again, there were different ways for us to do it. This is what I recommend to fix that. But there are still things that we're not in compliance with that are outside of my control.
Any other questions for Ms. Gonzalez and Mr. Walker? Thank you again for all the work. It looks like a PhD dissertation.
We spend a lot of time sitting across the table from each other, just talking through sections back and forth, constantly trying to get it both accurate, factual, and meaningful.
Right, make it valuable, exactly.
Great work on that, and I'm gonna keep saying that and keep thinking about that as we keep engaging with the document. So really, truly great work. I hope it just makes it easier for the use of honestly.
If nothing else, you have a template now for future annual reports.
Right. Yeah, that's why, and hopefully that's why I understand it took the time it took. The 2023 one was more of a rush job, and it was older information that, it wasn't as directly relevant. I wasn't, here, and we had less just recorded items and data, so.
We did a lot of work in 2024.
Yeah. I saw some of the big actions. I can confirm that. So thank you. Any other matters before we can't vote for adjournment? Call an adjournment unless there's anything else.
One question.
Yes, please.
Are you planning on having anything for setting up like you would last year, not this year?
As far as,
I guess getting up to the public.
you mean community outreach?
Yeah.
That's the goal.
I just wanted to know. I mean, I've heard it. That's why.
Okay, so I'm not making any long-term plans, obviously. Hopefully Mr. Walker will be here. I don't anticipate being here beyond next month. And so we are keeping tabs of all of the community events that are happening. So.
And that will and is the intent.
Okay, that's.
So we have been doing the work, we have been ordering, we have things to distribute. Who will be here to participate in those events, obviously, that I can't tell you.
There is a calendar, Mr. Dillon, you know, events.
I know, this computer that I got from the city, I'm having problems with it again.
No.
I'm sick of this computer. I think when I decide to go, I'm gonna slug it at them like that. This is make the third time I think I went to get this thing.
Maybe we can ask for them to maybe replace that with one of the other ones that we have
Mhm.
sitting there.
I don't know, cause I can't, once I set up a password in this thing, next thing you know, I'm kicked out of it again. Cause I know you have to do it every so often, but I mean, I get it today, 2 days later, I go to get in it and I can't get in it.
I mean, we can submit a ticket, but we would need to know from you when you can go with the laptop to
And maybe
IT.
if it would work, I would like to join, and that way because I used to work in this area, so.
I'm flexible, I just have to, just make sure I don't have anything going on there.
Yeah, I'm happy to be to your convenience and join with you. That way I'm hearing what they're saying as well.
Yeah, but I don't know what's going on, just make sure that when the fourth time, if I go back over there again, just make the fourth time.
I have a suspicion I know what the problem is, but I won't assume. No, and it's not related to user error. That's not directed at you, Mr. Dillon.
No, I can get on my computer and do what I need to do.
Yes, sir.
I think that, I mean, only other thing, that I was gonna say that, I don't know, but this meeting, they're supposed to have a meeting tonight about the shooting was over.
Fifield?
Right,
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And I
not-
was supposed to attend. I was hoping that my, president of NAACP would go, but he didn't go. So anyhow, I was requested to come. It's about some people public, but I need to get and do a little bit more investigation into this before I could commit myself to something. You know what I'm saying? So
Maybe a request to sit down with the chief?
Right,
that's it for me, sir.
thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
See you now.
Time check?
Yes.
We offline, Carol,
Time check though?
7:18.
7:18.
Still online.
7:18.
We're closing out the meeting at what time?
18?
Thank you.
Yep. All right.